Hey everybody, it's Nikia,
And it's Jasmine.
and this is
Black
Girl.
Girl.
I'm leaving that in there. That was a trash intro. Wow, and Jazz is drinking wine straight from the bottle. No chill, okay?
No chill. I mean, it was in
Wow.
the refrigerator at the store that I purchased it from, so it has a little chill, but I don't have enough time to really get up and go get a cup, so this is where we are.
No, wow. So much judgment. Anywho.
I thought this was a judgment-free zone, but I guess not.
Sorry, I had to judge. But anywho, y'all, welcome back to episode 3 of Black Girl Lit, the podcast.
Yay! We're a podcast, guys.
All right, for today's podcast, we're going to be discussing Erotic Stories for Punjabi Widows by BALLI KAUR JASWAL. We're going to start with our first segment, which is some information about the author. BALLI KAUR JASWAL is the author of Inheritance, which was adapted into a film at the Singapore International Festival of the Arts in 2017. Her third novel, Erotic Stories for Punjabi Widows, was released internationally to critical acclaim in March 2017. Translation rights to this novel have been sold in 11 different countries. Film rights to Erotic Stories for Punjabi Widows have been acquired by Ridley Scott's production company, Scott Free Productions and Film 4 in the UK. Erotic Stories for Punjabi Widows was also picked by Reese Witherspoon's book club and the Girly Book Club in 2018. She has traveled widely to appear in international writers' festivals to conduct workshops and lectures on creative writing, pursuing an artistic career, the power of storytelling, global citizenship, and social justice advocacy through literature. A former writing fellow at the University of East Anglia, Jaswal has taught creative writing at Yale NUS College and Nanyang Technology University, where she is currently pursuing a PhD. Her new novel, The Unlikely Adventures of the Shergill Sisters, was released in April 2019. The novel is a dark comedy following the travels of 3 British Indian sisters on a pilgrimage in India to fulfill their late mother's final wishes.
I did not know that this book was in Reese Witherspoon's book club. I also did not know that Reese Witherspoon had a book club. So
yes.
The more you know. I just learned something, you guys.
And the film rights are in the UK, so I wonder if it has been released in the UK yet, because that was like 2 years ago. So that'd be interesting to watch that film. Yeah.
It would be interesting. I would watch it.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Next, we are going to have the book Synopsis, where Jasmine flourishes and thrives.
So join me on this journey as I synopsisize Erotic Stories for Punjabi Widows. So basically, the story is about a girl, Nikki, who is a British Indian girl, and she's in her early 20s, and she's still trying to figure things out, going through her early 20s angst. She's dealing with some conflicting struggles in between, like following what she wants to do, which is the modern life, or traditional Indian culture. And the book kind of starts off with Nikki being asked by her sister Maya to help her in her finding a husband through an arranged marriage, which Nikki is completely against, does not support. She feels it's too old-fashioned. And it kind of culminates with Nikki being asked to do or sing a posting for a English writing class where she could be a teacher while she's trying to post up this husband. And it kind of goes from there where Nikki meets these Punjabi widows, and her writing class goes completely unexpected, not the way that she intended or thought it was going to be. And it was full of lots of erotic stories for the Punjabi widows, as well as some other things happening within Nikki's life, as well as a little bit of murder mystery going up in there. So it was a lot of little things happening. So it's basically the story of Nikki trying to find herself while also helping these Punjabi widows find themselves, in the fun adventures and stories they came up with together. And that is me synopsisizing Erotic Stories for Punjabi widows. Snaps for Jazz while I take a gulp from my bottle.
I like the way you put that all together. I was like, how is she going to fit everything in without telling it all? But you did it.
You know, that's what I strive for. I strive to give y'all just a drop of tea in the cup. Just to get your palate moist, get your palate wet. Okay. Yeah. So now we'll move on to reaction so that we can get out of this judgment room that we have put ourselves in.
Do you want to go first or you want me to go?
I will go. I'll go. Let me see. Oh, so also let's just say, this was my selection. I picked this
Oh,
book.
yeah.
Just to throw that out there. So my reactions, again, my reactions are probably not, I literally just put what I'm reacting to. I think Nikki, she puts her reactions, it's a little different, but I'm just writing my thoughts as they're happening. So, my first reaction, and I've literally put random, was why didn't she use quotation marks for speech? She used apostrophes, which was really weird to read at first. When people were speaking, I didn't know what was happening at first because, like, is this someone talking or what? Because she was using apostrophes. But then I also put that it was descriptive without being explicit, like 90s R&B.
Ooh, I like that. I like that.
Yeah. And then I also have, let's see, I called it adult sexy time with a sprinkle of murder. It's like a Zane book meets Law and Order. The armpit substitute for Crimson Wave was when she called it hairy and warm. Do you remember that? When she described what she did when she was having that time of the month.
Oh my God. I forgot about that.
And then I put that Tarampal. I think, did I pronounce her name right? She was the one that was hating all the time. I put that she had to chill. Thing what they were speaking in English to each other or if they were speaking in Punjabi. Since the book is written in English, I didn't know if they were actually speaking in Punjabi sometimes or if they were speaking in English to each other. I assumed they were speaking in their native language, not English, but it was just kind of weird to me. That was just my own personal random weird thoughts. But yes, what were your reactions?
All right, so my reactions, I only have like 4. Wow. So first of all, I was shocked at the stories that the women were telling. I was not expecting that because just from my American view of people who are Punjabi, which first of all, before I read this book, I didn't know Punjabi was a term. I just thought people were like Middle Eastern or Indian. So my perception of them was just, very proper. I would think that they would be prude just because of their lifestyle and their religion. But these stories tell otherwise because what's going on behind closed doors, honey. Okay.
Hunty.
And I also said I wasn't expecting there to be actual erotic stories in the novel. I thought it was just like the title to kind of like clickbait on YouTube.
Yeah.
And there were actual detailed stories.
Yeah.
I was upset with Nikki for how much she rejects her culture and her upbringing because I've actually read a lot of books with like Indian Americans and people with different cultural backgrounds and who are Punjabi as well. And the main characters always like reject their culture and their background. And that just gets under my skin. And maybe I'll talk about this in another segment, but it does get under my skin because me being a Black woman born in America, I have no idea where my culture and background is from because of slavery. So that just really bothered me. Yeah, we'll go deeper into that.
We'll debrief on that one.
Right, major scenes and topics. And then lastly, the story sometimes switch point of view so abruptly for me and time frame switch so quickly. I would kind of have to go back and be like, okay, where are we going? Is this a flashback? Is this a story? Who's telling the story? Because a lot of different people were actually telling the story. But once I kind of got the hang of it, it was fine. So
okay,
that's it for me.
I can definitely agree with you on that last piece because there was no real clear distinction sometime of whose perspective the story is being told in. Yeah, the story was being told in third person, but still it was kind of unclear a little bit. Like a chapter could end from Nikki's perspective and then pick up from
Kerwinder.
Yeah, Kerwinder. There we go.
Yeah.
And then I couldn't figure out who was talking. But okay. Ooh, major scenes. Do you want to go or I can go?
Okay, so I have a few. Is her name Colwinder?
I think it's Colwinder.
Okay, I spelled it wrong on one part of my paper. All right, so my major scenes and topics are women are subservient and seen lesser than men. Marriage is like the ultimate goal. There's an issue of colorism. Lighter skin is preferred.
Okay.
There's a lot of concern with appearances and just the way you're perceived in public. And then I guess this was a quote. But it kind of covers, it goes with the major scenes where Coal Winder, she wondered why men needed all that space when their answers to everything was no. She was just talking about how men just take up so much space and they really don't do anything with what they have.
Okay, so first of all, for my topics, I had duty and tradition versus modern views, female sexuality, and then finding your own voice and your true passion. And then I also put fuck the patriarchy. And then just because I'm extra, so I rated like the 5 stories, the erotic stories. I gave them ratings within our rating system. Sad. And my favorite one was the one about when they were at the hotel, the newlyweds at the hotel.
Oh, yeah. Don't give it away. Don't give it away. Don't give it away.
It was a good one. But okay. So what major scenes did you have? You gave your topics, but what scenes did you have? Or did you have any scenes?
Oh, the fact that, okay, so major scenes was Nikki meeting and dating Jason.
Okay.
The issues that were going on with I keep saying her name wrong. Coal Winder, who was the director of the women's program, like all her backstory with the murder mystery.
Okay.
And then I guess it's not so much a major scene. The brothers who police Southall.
Oh, like yeah.
They're just infiltration into everyday life. And then also Manjeet, who wasn't really a widow.
Oh, yes. Yes.
So I guess I'll talk about that one. So Manjeet, she was one of the participants in the writing class. And she was pretending to be a widow because her husband left her for his nurse. And then the nurse left the husband when he got sick again. Manjeet went back to him to take care of him, but then realized that he was just using her and then left him, came back to Southall. And then she decided to like shed the widow's garment because there was a certain attire that Punjabi widows wear. And I like that moment because she just had this realization that she didn't need him and that she didn't need to be defined by him, because throughout this story, it's just a lot of marriages, the goal in the culture. There was arranged marriages, intentionally arranged marriages, and you would have to go to your intended person's house with your family and, present this image and be so perfect and be so on point. And then you can end up in a marriage that was crap like Manjeet's. But she just realized that, he's a user. I don't need him. And she didn't have to be ashamed of the fact that her husband left her anymore. Because now, when she went back, she actually left him. So she got back some of her power.
Right. I think that's good. And I think that kind of ties in some of like the topics. Like I said, that's like a duty and tradition versus modern views, because the duty of her culture would have told her that she just needed to kind of stay in that relationship, right, or have, when she went back to him, stay with him or just put up with it. But her being able to find her own voice and allowed her to make that decision. And so I think that's awesome. For me, my major scenes, I had Nikki's and Tarampal's discussion about marriage, marital relations and like rape and stuff. Because I remember in that scene, Tarampal basically said that if your husband wants it, whether you want to give it or not, he's allowed to take it, basically. And I was like, that's not cool. That's not how. No,
that sounds like rape.
That's exactly what it is.
Okay.
It's rape.
That's what it sounds like.
Yep. And then Jason's reveal, what his big secret was, and his whole situation. And then I had when Nikki and Grandpa had, I was trying not to give away stuff. So the fire situation with Nikki, where she was.
I did write something about Tarampal where she was bribing people and carrying on her husband's like job. He was a spiritual leader, but he was actually just blackmailing people. And Tarampal was like continuing that, and she was involved with Coal Winder, with her family issues. So, and then Nikki started to uncover stuff. Like Cole Winder started to open up. Nikki started to do some research, and she just found out that Cole Winder's daughter had passed away. So she was doing research on how her daughter died. And also Cole Winder was being stalked by her daughter's widower? Men or widowers? Well, anyways, by her daughter's husband. And so, and her daughter's husband was connected to Teron Paul. It was a whole, like Jazz said, Law and Order murder mystery. I guess we're trying not to give too much away because usually we just spoil shit.
So, yeah, we're trying to do better about not spoiling shit. Trying to do better.
Yeah, so like you have to read. It's like a murder mystery. I was not expecting that layer of the story, but there's a whole lot of shady business going on with Teron Paul, affecting Cole Winder, and having to do with what's his name, Jaggy, which was Maya's husband, and Maya is Cole Winder's daughter, who is now deceased. Or who was deceased in the story.
It was just a lot that was happening in that book.
Yeah. It was like, I feel like we can't just talk. We can't say too much.
We can't talk too freely because there's just so many spoilers. Yeah. But again, it was adult sexy time with a sprinkle of murder, mystery in there.
Yeah. And I will say one thing, the events that took place in the novel caused Nikki to go to school because she was working at some like shady bar. But it caused her to go to school. She wants to get her degree in law with a focus on social justice, violence, rape, and focusing on honor killings in the Punjabi community.
Oh, yes.
That's where that, being concerned with appearances come in. They're all about like how they're perceived. Like when you go out, you represent your family, you represent your husband. You do one thing out of line, then that becomes an issue. So
yeah,
and I think to look into that.
I think that ties into finding your true voice and passion, because that was something that Nikki was struggling with. She didn't really know what she wanted to do. She had dropped out of college previous to the book starting, and she was dealing with some own family personal issues. So she was struggling to really find out what she really wanted to do in life. And I think this book helped her and allowed her to find that inner passion and find out what she really wanted to do. And you can kind of see that development happen as you're reading the book, as she's having these experiences with the Punjabi Widows, that she's actually kind of helping them to find their voice. At the same time, she was able to find her voice as well.
Yeah. And one thing about that I want to mention about the class, it was just supposed to like teach them how to write, because all of them, they spoke Punjabi, but they didn't know how to write Punjabi. That was one thing. And Nikki didn't know how to speak Punjabi. So there was like, a rift in there. And that kind of ties in with the traditional versus modern. Wow. Modern. Drinking too much. And the class just like, it evolved into this big thing that kind of scared Cole Winder too, because, women aren't supposed to be so outspoken and these things aren't supposed to be said. But yeah, I just thought it was really dope how the class started off as just to teach them about their language and teach them how to read and write. But it just evolved into this whole like self-help, women loving women and appreciating each other and just like really, like Jazz said, discovering themselves.
Yes. Yeah. No, I agree. I think that's good. I think that's super, super important. Yeah. I don't know. I enjoy that about the book.
Yeah. Definitely like a lot of layers. Definitely.
Very. It's like an onion. So many layers.
Like Shrek.
Like Shrek. I was going to say like
Shrek. All right, y'all. We're going to go to our next segment where we are going to rate this book. I'm so tempted to sing.
The book. We're gonna rate that book. We're gonna rate it because that's what we do. Is that good?
Yes, I loved it. So our rating system goes as follows. So the rating system goes as such. It starts with sober, which means that book is whack. We didn't like it. Don't even bother. Then we have buzz, which means we took a little sip. We're feeling it. We can vibe out with this book. Then we have tipsy, which means we had a couple drinks. You know what I'm saying? We on the dance floor, vibing out just a little bit. It's a lituation or a situation. It ain't lituation yet. And then we have our final rating, which is lit top tier, top notch. We love that book. We probably don't remember some of the things that happened last night. You know how it is when you get lit.
Basically like Nakia's wedding, which segue, congratulations to our co-founder Nakia, who got married over the weekend. She is now Miss Nakia McW. So excited. Oh my gosh, she's married.
It's so crazy.
Well, I'm not married, but she's married now, y'all.
Thank you.
But anyways, so yes, we have lit. And so now we will actually rate the book. Pardon me for that segue. I just had to give her a shout out for her wedding because it was amazing. I had so much fun.
Thank you. Well, you rate it first. This was your book, ma'am.
Oh, it was my book. Okay. So I rated this book. I rated this book a lit. I gave it a lit. I thought this book was very, very good. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I think the extra piece of like the murder mystery and all the different layers is what tipped it over the scale for me to make it a lit book. I thoroughly enjoyed the stories. And I think also the piece about it having actual like erotic stories, I think also helped as well. Because their stories was, my goodness gracious. Like, I was reading some of them like, ooh, child, y'all nasty. Right. And like I said, and it was good because they were very, very descriptive, but they weren't explicit. Like they were not super explicit. Like there was no like my pussy and stuff like that.
There was a lot of fruit talk. Though.
Yes, he called it the aubergine and cucumbers. Yeah, again, but you still knew what they were talking about. But I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I like their story, and I like the development of all of the characters, not just the main character Nikki and her family, but even the Punjabi widows. I like seeing that development of all of them. So I give this book a lit.
Nikki? So I gave this book a lit as well. It was just so good. I read it fast. And I love the details. And like I mentioned before, I love the layers in the book. And I wish there was like a sequel. I feel like there needs to be a sequel to this book, like what happens. Because they do mention that the stories from the Punjabi widows are actually going to get published. So that's really dope. I'm acting like it's a real thing. But I really enjoyed this book. This year I read a lot of stories about what they call Desi girls and boys and Punjabi. I read some books like on my own and with Jazz as well. So I'm really like gaining an appreciation and understanding for cultures, other than mine. And it's interesting to see that other Black and brown people deal with some of the same issues that we deal with, in African American culture. Because although this is Black Girl Lit, we do want to focus on, women of color because all of our groups are marginalized. But yeah, I thought the book was lit. It's a good read. I think you should definitely grab this book and put it on your shelf and then take it down and read it and drink some drinks.
Drink tons of drinks.
And y'all,
definitely read the book. I definitely support it. Oh,
we forgot sips.
Oh, sips.
I don't have no sips. But I was just saying, we forgot sips.
Oh,
so that's the
thing. We got some sips.
No, so we don't. We do not have any sips this week, but Sips is a segment of our show where we invite you, the listeners, to read along with us and then send in your questions, your comments, your concerns, your feedback, anything you would like to add to the show. So you can do it in a written version, or you could also record a soundbite on your phone and email it to us or DM it to us on our Instagram. So on Instagram, we are blackgirllit_, and our email is blackgirllityt@gmail.com. So if you want to be included on the show, have your feedback included, make sure you all contact us because we want to hear what you all have to say. We want your engagement, as Jazz
I was about to say it, girl. I was about to say engage with us, y'all.
Yes, we want you to Black Girl Lit with us, and we want our audience to be a part of this show.
So definitely engage, reach out, let us know what your thoughts are. And even if you, aren't able to send in your sips in time for us to do it on the recording of that actual story, we can always include them in another or future episode. So please don't hesitate to send them out. We definitely want to see what you guys are thinking, what you guys are reading. Just engage with us.
Why so menacing? Jazz, just engage so Jazz don't have to say that anymore. All right, you all, the next two books that we're going to be reading are The Cutting Season by Attica Locke, and The Au Pair by Emma Rouse. So make sure you get those books and read along with us so that you can join in on the conversation. But that is all we have for you today, y'all, unless you have anything else, Jazz.
No, I don't have anything. No, I'm good.
All
This
right.
is good.
I know this is a pretty easy episode.
Yeah.
But make sure you subscribe to us on iTunes. Make sure you rate us 5 stars and give us a review, because that'll get us to the front page of iTunes so you can see us. We're also on SoundCloud, so you can follow us and listen to us there. But that is all we have for today. Again, thank you for listening and reading with us. And as always,
stay black girl lit.
Stay black girl lit.